Since the release of Battlefield 1942, the Conquest game mode has been at the center of the franchise. So when players talk about the Battlefield experience, they usually have Conquest in mind. But during the last 23 years, the Conquest experience has changed a lot. A few days ago, I've seen someone on Twitter describe playing Conquest in Battlefield 6 as large-scale team deathmatch. And even though this is an exaggeration, it got me thinking about how we made decisions while playing the beta. When I asked my friends on voice chat where to go next, the usual answer was, doesn't matter, maybe we go Alpha, that's not far away. Another thing I noticed was that we would almost never turn around and go back to defend the objective we just left, because there really isn't much of a reason to do so. We would usually agree that we will push on to the next objective and then retake that flag later, because it really doesn't matter. So for us, playing Conquest in Battlefield 6 is lacking a few key ingredients. Ingredients that this game mode used to have, which enabled an experience that was partially responsible for the success of the Battlefield franchise. And this is what today's video is about. To raise awareness for what is missing when it comes to the design of the Conquest game mode in Battlefield 6. But first, for transparency, I got to confess that I am not the biggest fan of Rush. I find that the linear design limits your tactical options, and so the match can only play out in a few ways. After all, there are just two MCOMs that every attacker runs towards from a single spawn location that is known to the defenders, who are just waiting for the attackers to show up. And so Rush frequently turns into a meat grinder. That said, it is a very popular game mode for a reason. And that reason is that in Rush the player feels urgency, tension, and consequence. Urgency because as an attacker you have limited time and tickets to destroy those MCOMs. Same goes for the defenders, as it is urgent that you protect the MCOMs, as there is no repairing a destroyed MCOM. This urgency also creates constant tension, especially when one team is running out of time or tickets. And if a team fails to complete their task, then it will suffer the consequences. So by design, you have an incentive to go to that MCOM, or to turn around and defuse that MCOM that you just walked away from. There is no, I will deal with this later, because you are constantly at risk to lose that MCOM and get pushed back. Conquest, on the other hand, no longer offers such an experience, and it hasn't in many of the recent Battlefield titles. So how can we bring urgency, tension, and consequence back to Conquest? And by doing so also increase the tactical depth to reward players for making smart decisions and give them an incentive to play with their squad. Like with many other things, we can find the answer to this in Battlefield's past. Let's take a look at the design of one of my favorite city maps in Battlefield, Mestre City. And when I say design, then I'm not talking about the graphics, because this game is now 20 years old. I want you to focus on the game design that affects the gameplay experience. So for the next few minutes, please imagine that this uses the graphics of Battlefield 6. Mestre City is divided by a riverbed, which is also why it is known as Divided City. This map from Battlefield 2 is unlike any other that you have played in the Frostbite engine era, because it uses the Conquest double assault design. That means that every flag can be captured, including the main bases. This completely changes how you play Conquest, as both teams are under the constant threat to lose the ability to respawn. However, those of us who have played on that map back in the day know what a thrill it is to come back from such a dire situation. So that change alone creates urgency, tension, and consequence, and gives players a very strong incentive to not only go and capture objectives, but also to turn around and defend an objective they just departed from. If one team fails to do that, then the match will be over very quickly. But that is not the only way how DICE created an incentive for players to go capture or defend those objectives. Each main base features a helipad where a transport helicopter spawns, so if you lose the main base, then you also lose a quite important vehicle. Besides that, there is also a tank spawn on each side of the map, one at the backyard and one at the power plant, which adds value to these objectives. Now, you might be rightfully worried that one team could become too powerful, as they just need to get the backyard and the power plant under control and then have two tanks. or control both main bases and then have 2 helicopters, but that is not the case. When the Marines hold both the north and the south gas station, then no helicopter will spawn at what is the main base of the Middle East coalition. The Black Hawk can only spawn at the south gas station when the Marines are in control of that point. It is the other way around for the Middle East coalition. Same goes with the tanks. The T-90 will only spawn on the power plant when it is under control of the Middle East coalition, while the M1 will only spawn at the backyard when it is under control of the Marines. So even if one team holds both objectives where the tanks spawn, they will only get a new tank from the objective that is on their side of the map. This gives further value to those objectives as the vehicles that spawn there are linked to the specific faction of that side of the map. So if you can take that objective away from the enemy, then you deny him access to an important vehicle, which gets the enemy to fight even harder for that objective. So by taking away the safety net of always having a main base to respawn on, and by having powerful vehicles tied to specific objectives, playing Conquest suddenly gains a lot of urgency, tension and consequence. But not just that. When you play Conquest Double Assault on a map like this and you ask your friends on voice chat where to go next, then you will not hear "it doesn't matter." Some objectives have more value than others, so you will fight harder for them. But sometimes it is also smart to take an objective that has less value, and so either prevent the enemy from spawning near that valuable flag, or to get the attention of the enemy team so that they need to change their tactics. By making your decisions matter, the skill ceiling is raised quite a bit and allows for more skill expression when it comes to tactical play and teamwork. And so a squad which plays smart and plays together can have a much bigger and much more rewarding impact on the outcome of the match. Speaking of tactics, you will have noticed the limited visibility, which is the same for many of the old Battlefield maps. It really doesn't look great, which is why marketing hates that sort of design decision. However, there is a gameplay reason for that. But the limited visibility is not just great to balance snipers. It is also used to conceal your movement, which in combination with the elevation changes of the terrain enables players to flank and surprise the enemy. By providing players with more freedom when it comes to how they approach a situation, the developers allow matches to play out in many different ways, and in doing so avoid that it gets repetitive fast. How big the impact of the fog is on the gameplay became evident when DICE released some of the Battlefield 2 maps for Battlefield 3, but with an unlimited view distance. Playing these maps in Battlefield 3 was nothing like playing them in Battlefield 2, because that change single-handedly destroyed the tactical depth these maps once had, as now there was nothing to conceal your movement. Because of that, and the excessive use of 3D spotting, you got sniped across the entire map, frequently trapped inside your main base, and spawn killing got really bad on many objectives. This is what happens when there is no cover, so you must ask the question if gameplay isn't more important than marketing and shiny trailers. Now, while we are here in Battlefield 2, let me quickly show you something, as many of you have probably never seen anything from that game. And as I said, please try to imagine that everything you see here looks like Battlefield 6, as I want to direct your attention to the mechanics instead of the graphics. And please also ignore that everyone except 3 of us are bots. So I just joined this server. First, I quickly create a squad with a custom name and invite 5 players. That Sörland fella seems like a nice guy I want to have in my squad. Now I ask my commander for orders, as he should know what we need to do first.
Requesting new orders. Requesting new orders. Attack this coordinate.
Okay, so he wants us to capture the enemy main base. So let's ask for a vehicle drop.
Requesting vehicle drop. Over. Affirmative, the vehicle is on the way.
Now we could go straight across the map and try to reach the enemy main base. But what we will do instead is drive along the edge of the map and use both the fog as well as the terrain to cover our approach, and then take away the helicopter spawn from the enemy team.
Set demolitions at these coordinates.
Now the commander asked us to blow up the bridge and so deny the enemy from using it to get to our main base from that direction. So let me stop here to allow one of my squad members to get out, place some C4 and then blow it up. Next I change my order back to attacking the enemy main base, and we are on our way to the main base. As we are approaching the objective, I want to get rid of enemies that are currently there, so let's see if our commander can help us out with an artillery strike.
Request artillery on this target. Roger on artillery strike, over.
And to give us an advantage while we are capturing the objective, I will also request UAV support. Okay, objective taken, so let's ask the commander where he needs us next.
Attack this coordinate.
New order received, accepted, and we are off to the next objective. So these are just some of the mechanics that DICE provided us with 20 years ago to enable us to work as a team. Now back to the topic of Conquest in Battlefield 6. I do not suggest that all Conquest maps in Battlefield 6 should use the Conquest Double Assault design. Battlefield 1942, Vietnam, Battlefield 2 and 2142 didn't use it for all maps either. But having some Conquest Double Assault maps would greatly increase the variety of the experiences offered by Battlefield 6. And it would help teach players how Conquest is meant to be played in general, and so improve the match quality of all Conquest maps, as players are meant to attack, defend and retake objectives in Conquest, regardless of which variation of the game mode is used. Once both teams start to fight for objectives more, the tension will rise as matches then end with a much smaller ticket difference. Though many players don't seem to care about the outcome of a match anymore, especially in Conquest, so more could be done to make a win feel better and something to play for. So what do you think? Would you give Conquest Double Assault a shot if it came to Battlefield 6? Do you think that it would add something to the game? And would you like to see more mechanics from Battlefield 2 and 2142 make a return in a future title? Mechanics like a squad size of 6, blowing up as well as repairing bridges, the commander with his destroyable assets, and the chain of command. Let me know in the comments down below. And also let me know if you want to know more about the designs and mechanics that DICE used to incorporate in the older titles, as there are quite many forgotten features there which current and future titles could benefit from. And that's it for today. All that there is left for me to say is have a great day, and I hope to see you next time.